Dr. Vexithera stared at the bright blue screen floating in front of her. Her four eyes moved quickly across the words, reading them again and again. She could not believe what she was seeing. The message came from the most important medical group in the galaxy, and it was about humans. The words glowed on her screen like a warning. Species update. Humans, changed from normal biology to Deathworld species. Danger level, very high. Use extreme care. Vexithara felt her breathing tubes flutter with worry. She was the head doctor for alien life forms at Kepler Medical Station, one of the biggest space hospitals in this part of the galaxy. She had worked with many different kinds of aliens. Some were made of crystal and would break if the temperature changed too fast. Others were like living gas clouds that needed special air to breathe. But humans had always seemed so ordinary. She remembered when the first humans came to her station, 3 months ago. Captain Jake Morrison looked so weak and soft. His skin had no scales or armor. He had no claws or poison glands. Dr. Lisa Carter seemed just as fragile. They walked around the station like any other normal aliens, eating food, sleeping, and doing their jobs. But then strange things started happening. Last week, Jake had been outside the station fixing a broken machine when something went very wrong. A hole opened in the station wall and all the air rushed out into space. Jake was caught in the vacuum with no air, no pressure, and deadly cold. Any normal person would die in seconds. The rescue team found Jake floating unconscious 4 minutes. Later, 4 whole minutes in the killing emptiness of space. When they brought him inside, Dr. Carter just gave him some basic medicine and oxygen. Within 2 hours, Jake was back at work like nothing had happened. Vexithara looked at the medical reports again. Human bones were 3 times stronger than most space-traveling aliens. Their muscles could work in gravity so strong it would crush her people into paste. Their bodies could fight off diseases that would kill entire planets full of other aliens. She clicked her mandibles together nervously, a habit she had when worried. The medical scanners had shown impossible things about human bodies. Their hearts pumped liquid through their bodies with such force that it would burst the blood vessels of most other species. Their brains used electricity in ways that should cause seizures. Their stomachs contained acid strong enough to dissolve metal. A new message appeared on her screen. 2 more humans were coming to the station today. Lieutenant Ben Parker was a security officer. Dr. Amy Rodriguez was a scientist who studied chemicals and life. The message was clear: study these humans, learn about them, and figure out how other aliens could safely live near them. Vexithara had spent the last week reading everything she could find about Earth, the human homeworld. What she learned made her sleep badly and gave her bad dreams. Earth was a nightmare planet. The ground shook and split open regularly, swallowing cities. Mountains exploded and threw burning rock into the sky. The weather included spinning windstorms that could destroy buildings and waves of water taller than most space stations. Lightning struck the ground millions of times every day with enough power to kill most aliens instantly. But the worst part was the life on Earth. Everything there was trying to kill everything else. Plants made poison to kill animals that tried to eat them. Animals had claws, teeth, venom, and diseases to kill other animals. Even tiny creatures too small to see were deadly. The humans called them germs and bacteria, and they caused sickness that could kill millions. Yet humans had not just survived on this deadly world, they had taken control of it. They built cities, traveled to other planets, and somehow managed to be friendly and helpful to other species. It made no sense to Vexithara. She looked at her research notes again. Human children played games where they fought each other for fun. Human adults climbed dangerous mountains and swam in deep oceans just because they enjoyed it. They ate plants that burned their mouths and called it delicious. They ran long distances until their bodies almost broke down and called it exercise. The station communication system made a soft sound. Dr. Vexithara, the human transport ship has arrived. They are requesting permission to dock. Vexithara felt her breathing speed up. She had treated aliens from gas giant planets where the pressure would crush most ships. She had worked with creatures made of living metal who could conduct enough electricity to power a city. She had helped beings who breathed liquid methane and thought in ways no other species could understand. But humans scared her in a way nothing else ever had. These were not just survivors from a harsh world. According to her research, Earth was so dangerous that most galactic scientists had classified it as uninhabitable. The fact that complex life existed there at all was considered impossible by most experts. The fact that intelligent life had evolved there was beyond belief. Yet here were humans traveling between stars, making friends with other species and helping build a peaceful galaxy. They seemed kind and gentle, but their bodies were living weapons created by millions of years of surviving on a world that tried to kill them every single day. "Permission granted for docking," Vexithera replied to the communication officer. She gathered her medical team and equipment. "Prepare all scanning devices. Set safety protocols to maximum. We are about to meet our new Deathworld species colleagues." She walked toward the docking bay. Vexithera wondered if the galaxy would ever be the same. These humans had seemed so harmless when they first arrived. Now she knew the truth. They were the products of a world so deadly that surviving there had turned them into something beyond normal biology. She was about to find out just how different they really were. The docking bay became completely quiet as the human ship connected to Kepler Station. Vexithara watched through thick glass windows as the new humans came out of their transport. Her medical team stood beside her with all their scanning machines ready. Dr. Krelton from the Proxima system held his scanner with shaking hands. Healer Yithsara from the Andorian colonies moved farther back from the window. Ben Parker stepped out first from the human ship. Right away, Vexithara's machine started beeping with strange readings. His heart was beating so fast and so hard that it should mean he was having a medical emergency. But Ben looked calm and relaxed. He smiled and waved at the workers in the docking bay like nothing was wrong. Then Ben walked over to a large metal box that had fallen from another ship. The scanning machine said the box weighed 200 kilograms. Ben bent down and picked it up with both hands like it was a small bag of food. 3 of Vexithara's assistants stepped backward so fast they almost fell down. "That should be impossible," whispered Dr. Krelton. "No one can lift that much weight so easily." Dr. Amy Rodriguez came out of the ship next. She was smaller than Ben, but the scanning machines went crazy when they looked at her. The chemical scanners found things in her blood that should have killed her. The computer said she had enough caffeine in her body to stop the heart of most aliens. But Amy looked awake and happy, not sick or dying. Vexithera tried to make her voice sound normal when she spoke. "Welcome to Kepler Station. I am Dr. Vexithera, head of alien biology. We need to do medical checks on all new crew members." Amy smiled back at her. When she smiled, Vexithera could see her teeth. They were sharp and pointed like the teeth of hunters who eat meat. "Of course, Doctor. We understand the new rules. But I should tell you, I drank coffee about an hour ago. So the chemical readings might be higher than normal." Vexithera had spent days reading about Earth and human history. What she learned made her understand why the Galactic Council was so worried. Earth was not just a dangerous planet. It was a world where everything was designed to kill everything else. The ground on Earth moved and shook, destroying cities with earthquakes. Mountains exploded and threw burning rock and ash into the sky. The weather included storms with winds, fast enough to blow down buildings and waves of water tall enough to sink ships. Hot and cold seasons changed so much that they could freeze or burn most aliens to death. But the worst part was that all life on Earth was at war with all other life. Animals had claws, teeth, poison, and venom to kill other animals. Plants made chemicals to poison anything that tried to eat them. Even the smallest living things, too tiny to see, caused diseases that could kill millions. During the medical examination, Ben talked about his life like these terrible things were normal. "I broke my arm last month during training," he said, while the X-ray machine looked at his bones. "It healed up pretty fast, though. The X-ray pictures showed something amazing. Ben's broken bone had not just healed. It had become stronger and thicker where it broke. His body had fixed itself and made itself better than before. Amy's blood tests were even more surprising. Her immune system was fighting a war inside her body every second of every day. It was attacking tiny organisms that were not even dangerous. Her body was always ready to fight diseases that did not exist. It was like having an army that never stopped training for battles. Your immune system is incredibly active, Vexithara told Amy. It is working harder than the immune systems of most species during a serious infection, but you are not sick. Amy laughed. That's normal for humans. Our bodies are always fighting something. We have to take medicine just to stop our immune systems from attacking things that are not really dangerous. As the day went on, Vexithara learned more frightening facts about humans. Ben told her that human children played games where they hit each other and called it fun. Amy explained that humans ate food that was partly rotten because they liked the taste. Both of them talked about activities they did for enjoyment that would be considered torture by most other species. We go swimming in the ocean where there are sharks, Ben said. We climb up tall mountains where the air is too thin to breathe. We jump out of flying machines with pieces of cloth to slow us down. We call it recreation. Dr. Krelton looked sick when he heard this. You do dangerous things because you enjoy them? Sure, Amy replied. Life is boring if it's too safe. We need some excitement. Vexithara realized that humans did not just survive on their death world. They had learned to love danger. They looked for risky situations because their bodies and minds were designed to handle stress and threat. What would cause panic and terror in other species was entertainment for humans. The medical scans showed more impossible things. Human bones were dense and heavy, like the bones of creatures from high-gravity worlds. Their muscles had fibers that could work in conditions that would paralyze most other species. Their nervous systems could handle pain levels that would cause other aliens to pass out or die from shock. How do you sleep at night? Asked healer Ythsara. Your bodies are in a constant state of high alert. Ben and Amy looked at each other and laughed. We sleep fine, Amy said. Though humans don't need as much sleep as most species, 6 to 8 hours is enough for us. Ythsara made a worried sound. Her people needed 12 hours of sleep and could not function with less than 10. The idea of sleeping only 6 hours seemed impossible. By the end of the day, Vexithara understood why the Galactic Council had changed the classification of humans. These were not just tough survivors from a harsh world. They were the final result of millions of years of evolution on a planet so dangerous that living there required becoming living weapons. But the strangest thing about humans was that despite being so dangerous, they were also kind and helpful. They wanted to work with other species and make friends. They used their incredible abilities to protect others instead of hurting them. As Ben and Amy finished their medical tests, Vexithara felt confused and amazed. Humans were the most dangerous species she had ever met. They were also some of the nicest people she had ever worked with. She began to understand that being a death world species did not make humans evil or mean. It made them strong enough to choose to be good. 3 weeks after the humans arrived at the station, something terrible happened. Vexithara was in her lab working on medical reports when all the warning lights started flashing red. The loud alarm sound filled every room on the station. Emergency. In Section C, announced the computer voice. Toxic gas leak detected. All crew members must leave the area immediately. Vexithara rushed to the control room where everyone was trying to figure out what went wrong. The main life support system had broken down in a very bad way. Poisonous gases were filling Section C where most of the crew lived and slept. The computer had sealed all the doors to stop the gas from spreading, but this meant that people were trapped inside. Captain Morrison and the other humans were already in the control room looking at the emergency screens. Security Chief Kethmal was giving orders to his team while trying not to panic. How many people are trapped? Asked Dr. Carter. 17 crew members, replied Kethmal. His voice was shaking. 2 Zenthari engineers, a family of Celestian, refugees with 3 children, 5 Proximan workers, and 7 others from different species. Vexithara looked at the gas readings on her screen. The numbers made her feel sick with worry. The air in Section C was full of hydrogen sulfide and carbon monoxide. Both gases were deadly to most life forms. Even breathing a little bit would cause serious damage. Breathing it for more than a few minutes would mean death. We are preparing rescue teams with full protection suits, said Kethmal. But even with the best equipment, our people can only stay inside for 10 minutes at most. The gas levels are too high. 10 minutes is not enough time to save 17 people, said Dr. Carter. She was looking at the station maps on her tablet. Section C is too big. It would take at least 30 minutes to reach everyone and get them out safely. That was when Captain Jake Morrison stepped forward. He looked calm, even though everyone else was worried and scared. Dr. Vexithera, I need your permission to go into Section C and help those people. Vexithera stared at him like he had said something crazy. Captain Morrison, that is impossible. The air in there will kill you in just a few minutes. Even humans cannot survive that much poison. Jake looked at Ben Parker and Dr. Carter. They seemed to have a silent conversation with just their eyes. Then Jake turned back to Vexithera. Actually, Doctor, humans can hold our breath for a long time when we have to. Our blood carries oxygen, better than most other species. I think I can do this. You think? Vexithera's voice got higher with panic. This is not about thinking. The computer says the gas levels will kill any carbon-based life form, but Jake was already putting on a basic breathing mask. It was not the heavy protection suit that other species needed. It was just a simple device that would give him clean air for a short time. I have done this kind of thing before, Jake said. Humans train for dangerous rescue work. We learn to work in bad air, underwater, and in other difficult places. Trust me. Before anyone could stop him, Jake opened the emergency door and walked into Section C. The door sealed behind him automatically. Vexithara watched on her screen as he moved through the poisonous air like it was just a normal day. The gas was so thick that it was hard to see very far. But Jake moved with confidence and purpose. He seemed to know exactly where he was going. His heart rate stayed normal according to the medical scanner that tracked his vital signs. Any other species would have been unconscious or dead by now. Jake found the first group of trapped people within 5 minutes. They were Proximan workers, who had hidden in a storage room. Their breathing was shallow and their skin had changed color from the poison gas. Jake helped them put on emergency air masks and guided them to a safe area near the exit. Then he went back into the worst part of the gas cloud to find the others. Dr. Carter was tracking his progress on her computer. His oxygen levels are still good, she reported. Humans can control their breathing and use less air when needed. He is doing fine so far. Vexithara could not believe what she was seeing. Jake moved through air that should have killed him instantly. He found the Zenthari engineers who had collapsed near a broken air filter. He carried both of them to safety even though they were heavy and difficult to move. The hardest rescue was the Celestian family. They were trapped in their living quarters with 3 small children. The children were crying and scared. The parents were unconscious from breathing too much poison gas. Jake had to make several trips to get all 5 family members out safely. By the time Jake finished, he had been inside the deadly gas cloud for over 30 minutes. When he finally came out of Section C, all 17 trapped crew members were alive and safe. The medical team rushed to treat everyone for gas poisoning. Jake sat down and took off his breathing mask. His only complaint was that he had a small headache. Dr. Carter checked his blood with a scanner and found poison levels that should have put him in a coma. But Jake's body was already working to clean out the toxic chemicals. How is this possible? Asked Dr. Krelton. He was treating one of the Zenthari engineers who had been unconscious from just 5 minutes in the gas. Dr. Amy Rodriguez explained while she helped treat the rescued crew members. Human bodies evolved to handle environmental toxins. We lived on a world where the air, water, and food often contained things that could hurt us. Our liver and kidneys are very good at cleaning poison from our blood. What you think is deadly, we think is just unpleasant. That night, Vexithera could not sleep. She kept thinking about what she had seen. Jake had walked into a death trap and saved 17 lives like it was just part of his job. He did not seem to think he had done anything special or heroic. She wrote her first detailed report to the Galactic Council about human abilities. Human adaptability is beyond anything we have seen before. They can survive in conditions that would kill most other species. Recommend that we change all safety, rules and emergency procedures to account for human capabilities. As she finished writing, Vexithara realized something important. Humans were not just dangerous because they were strong or tough. They were dangerous because they would risk their own lives to save others. They had all the abilities of a perfect predator, but they used those abilities to protect and help instead of hunt and kill. She was beginning to understand that Deathworld species could be the safest people to have as friends. After the rescue incident, Vexithara knew she had to learn everything about humans and their homeworld. She could not understand how beings could be so dangerous yet so helpful. She decided to spend time talking with each human crew member to learn about their daily lives on Earth. She started with Dr. Lisa Carter, asking her about normal human activities. What Lisa told her made Vexithara feel worried and confused. Humans do many things for fun that would be considered dangerous by other species, Lisa explained. We climb tall mountains where the air is too thin to breathe properly. We dive deep into oceans where the pressure could crush most beings. We jump from high places with only pieces of cloth to slow our fall. We call these things sports and recreation. Vexithara's mandibles clicked nervously. You do these dangerous things because you enjoy them? Yes, Lisa smiled. We like challenges. If life is too easy and safe, we get bored. We look for ways to test ourselves and feel excited. Next, Vexithara talked with Ben Parker about human military and security training. His answers made her understand why humans were so good in emergencies. Basic training for human soldiers involves putting people under extreme stress, Ben explained. We train in hot deserts, cold mountains, and dangerous jungles. We learn to work when we are tired, hungry, hurt, and scared. We practice fighting, running, climbing, and surviving with very little food or water. This training would kill most other species, Vexithara said. Ben nodded. Probably. But humans need tough training to be ready for real dangers. We say that hard training makes everything else seem easy. Vexithara learned that human soldiers trained in conditions that would be considered torture for most aliens. They learned to function with broken bones, to stay awake for days without sleep, and to keep fighting even when badly injured. What other species would call suffering, humans called preparation. When she talked to Dr. Amy Rodriguez about human food and eating habits, Vexithara almost could not believe what she heard. Humans eat many things that are actually dangerous, Amy said. We eat capsaicin, which is a chemical that plants make to stop animals from eating them. It burns our mouths and makes us sweat, but we think it tastes good. We call it spicy food. You eat plant poison for pleasure? Vexithara asked. We also eat food that has been attacked by bacteria and fungi, Amy continued. We call it fermented food. Cheese, bread, wine, and many other foods are made by letting bacteria and yeast change them. What other species might think is rotten, we think is delicious. Amy explained that humans regularly consumed things that would make most aliens very sick. They drank liquids that contained alcohol, which was actually a poison that their bodies had learned to process. They ate plants that contained natural toxins and enjoyed the burning sensation in their mouths. The most shocking information came when Vexithara asked about human children and families. Human children are basically tiny survival machines. Amy laughed. They will try to eat anything they find, climb on everything they can reach, and somehow survive experiences that should kill them. We have entire industries built around making things safe for children. The concept of childproofing amazed and terrified Vexithara. Humans had to redesign their entire environment to prevent their own offspring from accidentally killing themselves. Children would drink cleaning chemicals, stick metal objects into electrical outlets, and jump from high places just to see what would happen. How do any human children survive to become adults? Vexithara asked. We watch them very carefully, Lisa said. And human children are actually very tough. They can survive falls, injuries, and accidents that would be fatal to young aliens. Their bodies heal quickly, and they learn from their mistakes. Dr. Carter told Vexithara about human psychology and emotions. Humans can handle stress, fear, and trauma in ways that most species cannot. We can function normally even when we are afraid or in pain. We can make important decisions during emergencies when other beings might panic or freeze. Ben added more information about human mental toughness. Humans can be alone for long periods without going crazy. We can work in small groups under pressure without fighting each other. We can stay focused on goals even when bad things happen around us. Amy provided the most important insight about human nature. Humans do not just adapt to environments, Doctor. We change environments to fit our needs. If a world is too cold, we make it warmer. If it is too hot, we cool it down. If there is no air to breathe, we make air. We do not just survive in places, we take control of them. This was the piece of information that made everything clear to Vexithara. Other species adapted to their environments and learned to live within the limits of their worlds. Humans looked at limits as problems to solve. They did not accept that things were impossible. They found ways to make impossible things possible. She realized that Earth had not just created tough survivors. It had created a species that refused to accept defeat. Every challenge made humans stronger and more determined. Every problem became a puzzle to solve rather than a barrier to accept. The most important thing to understand about humans, Lisa said during their final interview, is that we never give up. No matter how bad things get, no matter how dangerous or difficult the situation becomes, humans will keep trying to find a way to survive and help others survive too. Vexithara spent several days thinking about everything she had learned. Humans were indeed a Deathworld species, but they were also something more. They were proof that even the most hostile environment could create beings who chose to protect and help others instead of just thinking about themselves. She began to understand that the Galactic Council's reclassification was not just about biology. Humans represented a completely different way of existing in the universe. While other species learned to live within the rules of nature, humans learned to rewrite those rules. The scary part was not that humans were dangerous. The scary part was that they had unlimited potential to change everything around them. But the good part was that they seemed to want to use that potential to make life better for everyone, not just themselves. Vexithara realized that having humans as allies might be the best thing that ever happened to the galaxy. They brought not just strength and toughness, but also hope that no problem was too big to solve, and no situation was too dangerous to face. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council changed the classification of humans to Deathworld species. Kepler Station had become the most famous research center in the galaxy for studying humans. Scientists from dozens of different worlds came to learn about these strange beings who were both dangerous and kind. Vexithara looked around the station and smiled. Everything had changed, but in good ways. The daily routine now worked around what humans could do and what they needed. Everyone had learned to live and work together peacefully. Jake Morrison was now the official emergency response leader for the entire station. After he saved 17 people from the poison gas, 3 more dangerous situations had happened. Each time, Jake handled the problems by himself, while other crew members stayed safe. His ability to work in deadly conditions had made him the most valuable person on the station. The first emergency was when a fire started in the engine room. The temperature got so hot that most aliens would die just from being near it. Jake put on a basic heat suit and went inside to fix the problem. He worked for 2 hours in heat that should have cooked him alive. When he came out, he just asked for some cold water and said he was a little tired. The second emergency happened when a meteor hit the station and made a hole in the outer wall. The area lost all its air pressure instantly. Most species would die in seconds without proper spacesuits. Jake put on a simple oxygen mask and spent 30 minutes outside the station fixing the hole. He worked in the vacuum of space like he was just doing regular maintenance. The third emergency was the scariest for everyone except Jake. A dangerous chemical spill happened in the science lab. The chemicals would burn through the skin of most aliens and cause terrible damage. Jake cleaned up the entire spill wearing only basic protection gloves and a face mask. The chemicals that touched his skin left red marks, but they healed completely within a few hours. Dr. Amy Rodriguez had completely changed how the medical department worked. She introduced human medicine techniques that seemed impossible, but worked very well. Her idea to use controlled amounts of what other species considered poison as medicine had shocked the medical staff at first. Small amounts of toxins can actually help the body get stronger, Amy explained to a group of visiting doctors from other planets. Human medicine has used this principle for thousands of years. We give people tiny amounts of dangerous things to help their bodies learn to fight bigger dangers. Amy had created new treatments that worked much better than the old ones. She used human knowledge about bacteria and viruses to help other species fight diseases. Her treatments were so successful that medical centers on other planets started asking for her advice. Ben Parker had transformed the security department completely. He created new training programs that helped other species become much better at their jobs. The training was adapted so it would not hurt non-human crew members, but it was still more effective than anything they had used before. Human security. Training is about being ready for anything, Ben told his mixed species security team. We practice the same movements over and over until they become automatic. We train our minds to stay calm during dangerous situations. We learn to work together as a team no matter what happens. The security team now responded to problems twice as fast as before. They worked together better and made fewer mistakes. Even though they could not match Ben's strength or speed, they had learned human techniques for thinking clearly under pressure. Dr. Lisa Carter had become the most important person for helping different species understand each other. She spent her time teaching other aliens that human behavior was not dangerous or aggressive. She helped them understand that human reactions were just their natural way of staying ready for problems. When humans seem tense or alert, it does not mean we are angry or planning to hurt anyone, Lisa explained to a group of nervous Centauri engineers. Our bodies just stay ready for action all the time. It is like having guards who never sleep, but the guards are friendly guards who want to protect everyone. Lisa also taught humans how to behave around other species without scaring them. She helped Jake learn to move more slowly around aliens who were frightened by quick movements. She taught Amy to smile with her mouth closed so her teeth would not scare species who thought sharp teeth meant danger. Vexithara found herself looking forward to talking with the humans every day. Their casual conversations about surviving childhood on Earth had become her favorite part of each day. They told stories about dealing with dangerous animals, surviving natural disasters, and playing games that would be considered life-threatening by most aliens. Yesterday, my nephew called me, Jake said during their morning coffee break. He is 7 years old and he climbed a tree that was 15 meters tall. When he got stuck, instead of calling for help, he figured out how to get down by himself. His parents were proud of him for solving the problem. Stories like this had stopped surprising Vexithara. She now understood that human children were expected to take risks and solve problems on their own. What other species would call child endangerment, humans called normal development. The final report to the Galactic Council was the most important document Vexithara had ever written. She worked on it for weeks, making sure every word was correct. Humans are unlike any species we have encountered before, she wrote. Their capabilities exceed normal biological limits in every category we can measure. However, they demonstrate remarkable social cooperation, ethical behavior, and genuine concern for the welfare of other species. While they must maintain their Deathworld classification for safety reasons, I recommend full integration into galactic society with special protocols. She included detailed recommendations for how other species could work safely with humans. The key was understanding that human strength and toughness were not threats. They were gifts that humans used to help others. As Vexithara finished her final report, Jake stopped by her laboratory. Any regrets about being assigned to work with the scary Deathworld humans, Doc? Vexithara looked at him and made the expression that humans had taught her was like their smile. Captain Morrison, working with your species has been the most educational and interesting experience of my entire career. I would not change anything about it. Jake laughed. I am glad to hear that. We humans like making friends with our colleagues. Outside the big windows of the station, the stars continued their ancient dance across the darkness of space. But now those stars seemed less scary and more full of possibilities. If a species could evolve on a world that tried to kill them every day and still choose to help others, then maybe the galaxy was a much safer and more hopeful place than anyone had ever imagined. Vexithara realized that humans had taught her the most important lesson of her life. Strength was not about being able to hurt others. Real strength was about being able to protect others and choosing to use that strength for good things instead of bad things. The Deathworld had created the perfect guardians for everyone else.